saw that the root of the problem was at the State House, I immediately decided that we need to fix it there.
Thank you. Colleen, you have a minute to respond.
It is very, very funny that Ms. Heisey thinks that the problems are here at the State House. The fact of the matter is, besides Mass Health, education gets the vast majority of the extra money in the budget. And frankly, for all those educators out there who educate in Dracut and Tingsboro and the region, you're insulting. They do a tremendous job in this community and in Tingsboro to educate our children. And I wouldn't diminish anything to say that money is the only reason that kids are going to get a good education. The fact of the matter is, Dracut gets almost 50% of their budget paid for by the state. Tingsboro gets almost as much as well. And the fact is, you would have thought that a sitting school committee member might actually reach out to the legislature to say, hey, here's my idea, why don't we try to fix it? The only time I heard from you was, can you explain the formula to me? And I did. And from then on, nothing. So I'd like to know what your plan is. What exactly are you going to do to fund Dracut education from the state level?
All right, Sabrina, you have a rebuttal.
I think that the fact that teachers here are paid less is actually insulting to our educators. They're working the best they have in this district, and that is in no way a knock against the teachers, but teachers in this district know that they could go make more money elsewhere, and many choose to do so, as you can see from our retention rates. We absolutely value our educators, but the fact is that Dracut has less per pupil to spend, and thus we can't spend as much on the teachers. And the real value is teachers. It's not a building. A building won't teach your children. It is the quality of the education that you receive, and that means the extras. So that means that you will get a higher quality of education depending on where you live. Now, in terms of how we fund it, we are going to reimburse the district at the actual cost of educating a child and not at a one-size-fits-all current model. We're going to fully fund the circuit breaker at 75% instead of underfunding it every single year.
And how much is that going to cost?
I'm still the moderator.
Yeah.
I get to be moderator.
She still hasn't answered the question.
Well, I was going to go there. I got you. I got you. We're going to have a good debate. No, you didn't answer quite the question. You did touch on it. Yeah, I know. I got you, and I respect them. You talked a little bit about it when you started talking about the circuit breaker.
Right.
And so tell us a little bit more about what your solution or what some of the ideas you want to bring to the state house are.
Sure. So I was supportive of the Fair Share Amendment, which is a 4% tax on people who make an annual income of more than $1 million a year. The majority of those people don't actually live in our district. There's only 9 people in the district that would be affected by that additional 4% tax revenue. But that is proposed to raise another $1 billion to $2 billion projected, and that money could be invested back into education and transportation. But essentially, what we need to do is make sure that districts aren't funding their children at $25,000 per student, where Dracut can only get $11,000 per student. We can never keep up with the Joneses, and you shouldn't have to move to get a quality public education. This is a public service. So I would fund it through cutting corporate tax, in cutting corporate loopholes on taxes and fair share amendments, progressive tax breaks.
Okay. Colleen, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to respond to that, please, Bill. And
well, the Fair Share Act was voted, went to court and was denied to be on the ballot. So that's done. You also talk about telling other communities that they can't override 2.5. Who are we to tell other communities that they can't override 2.5 because it's going to make us look worse?
Am I allowed to respond to that?
you can respond to that.
The fact that we allow them to override 2.5 means that they will always have a higher quality of education. We need to set a ceiling. We need to have the state formula recognize that communities like Dracut and Tingsboro can't rely solely on economic development, as we are right on the southern New Hampshire border. The formula does not take those unique circumstances into account. So we need to have a formula that recognizes that, and so when we update the formula, it needs to be more than just economic development.
Okay, we're going to move on.